Sacramento, USA Rugby. Sacramento, USA Rugby. Wait, hold on just a second. Is this happening? Are worlds colliding before my very eyes? Not only is the World Rugby Pacific Nations Cup back, and not only are the USA Eagles participating once more, but Sacramento's very own Heart Health Park will host a pool match against Japan. I, for one, could not be more excited. Look, I was pretty bummed out when the X Games flaked on Sacramento, and they did so in the most weak-gutted manner possible, the Friday afternoon news dump. Thankfully, though, USA Rugby has filled this gap, at least to a certain extent. Saturday, September 6th, we'll see the Eagles face off against a very solid Brave Blossom side ranked 13th in the world. However, the City of Trees landing such a high-profile fixture is a sign of something bigger. It is a sign that Sacramento has become a low-key hotbed for rugby stateside. It should be noted, though, the matchup that's coming up in 2025 is 10 years in the making. It's a return clash from 2015 when the Eagles upset Japan in the Pacific Nations Cup at what was then known as Bonney Field. Some 10,000 plus folks showed up for a game where the state fair was taking place in the background. I will not miss much about that makeshift venue at Cal Expo when Sac Republic does eventually make their way to a new rail yards facility, but those games with the State Fair Carnival serving as a backdrop were some of my favorites. Such a unique look. Anyway, AJ McGinty's sublime kicking performance gave the USA a notable victory on home soil. That was actually the second Pacific Nations Cup tie to have been played in Sacramento, the first happening a year previously. Then the Eagles beat Canada in a contest that kicked off at like 3 p.m. in June. I do not know what idiot scheduled that. I mean, the crowd wasn't terrible, all things considered, but what an absolutely stupid time to be playing any sport outdoors in June in Sacramento. That aside, there is a vast difference between where Sacramento was at as a rugby city in 2015 and today. There's no denying rugby had some traction in the city a decade ago, but honestly, it's a night and day situation when you expand and look at the big picture, and to me, collegiate rugby is the perfect example of that. My other alma mater, American River College, has become one of the best Division I AA rugby playing teams in all the country. That's despite having only been around for 2 seasons. It's also one of only a few community colleges to be playing at the level. This, by the way, is the same level that Stanford, Florida State, Baylor, and Iowa State, to name a few, play at. Those are no scrubs. They are club teams, admittedly, but make no mistake, the competition at this level is no joke, even if it's not supported by the school itself. To that end, the mighty Beavers of ARC have won back-to-back NorCal championships, went undefeated in the regular season this year, and were ranked as high as 3rd nationally. Again, in their second ever season as an organized rugby playing school. That's pretty damn good. Elsewhere, Sacramento State's rugby program was D1 AA national champions in 2023. UC Davis took home the Division I AA trophy in 2015 and 2016. Sure, it's not quite the level of the East Bay where you have Cal and St. Mary's playing at the Division I level, but those are schools that have been playing collegiate rugby off and on for more than 100 years now, and they had tours in Australia and all around the world back in the day. So I think what Sacramento has accomplished in the past 10 years collegiately, we're celebrating. At the high school level, Jesuit has had a rugby team for some time now, but the last few years have been pretty notable. They became the first US-based high school team to be invited to participate in a global tournament when they headed over to Japan last year, facing off against sides from England, Scotland, Australia, all around the world. The Marauders also have a few alumni now plying their trade in Major League Rugby. That's a pretty big deal when you sit down and think about it. For a high school kid in Sacramento or the surrounding suburbs to be playing rugby and see you can go on to college and you can even go on to play professionally, that is just massive. And for high school football players, having the option to go play rugby in the spring as opposed to being shuttled off to the track and field team, I think is kind of a nice option to have. Meanwhile, Sacramento has always had support for rugby at the grassroots level. Sacramento Rugby Football Club has been around for more than 60 years now. The Sacramento Amazon Women's Rugby Club has a good history as well. They were Pacific Super Regional champions in 2024. At the youth level, you have Sacramento Rugby Union, Motherlode Rugby, and the Carmichael Hawks, among others. From Elk Grove to the foothills to, of all places, Gridley, California, up in Butte County and Barbarian Rugby Club. The egg-shaped ball game is everywhere and growing. Perhaps the most appealing thing about rugby as a whole right now when compared to other team sports is just how welcoming it is, how easy it is to become involved. No one is gatekeeping. No one cares about how much or little experience you have. They don't really care if you know the rules or not. If you want to be a part of rugby, you can be a part of rugby, and there are nice, kind folks along the way who will help guide you. It is just so refreshing to see in this day and age. No experience required might as well be the sport's motto in the USA right now. It doesn't matter if you're 8 years old, going out for a youth team, or 48, and just want to see what rugby is all about. You could do it, and you'll always find someone there willing to help you out. This is not just a Sacramento phenomenon, by the way. Rugby in America has always just wanted folks to come out and try it, to watch it, see if it was for them. That's of course because if someone does try it or they do watch it, they tend to get hooked. They tend to get interested in playing rugby or watching rugby. It sells itself really, at least once it has a foot in the door. Now, the thing about rugby in Sacramento over the past 10 years is that the story hasn't always been great. Most notably, the pro rugby experiment failed. That wasn't really on the Sacramento Express, our local team in the league. They had the best attendance, but it just wasn't great. And when they folded, we never really got another shot at a professional team. Major League Rugby, for whatever reason, perhaps lack of ownership group. I mean, they've struggled over the years as well. But yeah, Sacramento is missing that professional MLR element. As the Express were wrapping up their lone season in 2016, the USA Eagles had a test match against Russia here in Sacramento. This started at 7 p.m. in June. I guess it was then known as Papa Murphy Park. I mean, that thing's had a few different names over the years. But yeah, the temperature at kickoff for this clash was in the 90s. It looked miserable to be there. I mean, some folks turned out, props to them, but what a bad idea to be playing any sort of game, 90-degree temperatures. I know they tried to delay it as long as they could with the 7 p.m. start time, but ugh. There was also a not particularly well-attended America's Rugby Championship clash against Canada in 2018. Remember when I said the State Fair Carnival served as a very cool, quaint-looking backdrop for rugby or Republic games when that was happening? Well, I think we need to say the opposite about Waterworld, or whatever it was going by at that moment in time, in the background of a chilly February sporting contest. It just doesn't have the same vibe as the lit up Ferris wheel in the Sacramento night skyline, I suppose. Critically though, a lot has changed for Sacramento, at least as it relates to rugby, between 2015 and 2025. First, there are at least like 3 more Adalberto's knockoffs around town. I don't know how many times that guy is going to get divorced and lose half his restaurants in the settlement. Eventually, you just have to stop getting married, right? That being said, I would love to meet Mrs. Adalbert Tacos. What a wonderful name and a wonderful, not completely, totally derivative restaurant there. Second, and obviously more important as it relates to this video, Heart Health Park has undergone some notable changes over the years. I mean, it's not hugely different from what it was in 2015, but there are improvements to the facility that will make the experience better a decade later. Third, interest and participation in rugby around the Sacramento area is a lot stronger today than it was 10 years ago. Sure, it's not at the level of Utah or Colorado or Chicago or New York, but it definitely exists and it's worth engaging with. This is how rugby will continue to grow and flourish in Sacramento. Just to add on to that, I truly hope this clash between the USA Eagles and Japan at the World Rugby Pacific Nations Cup is seen more than just being a cool sporting event to attend in Sacramento. Now, don't get me wrong, it is very much a cool sporting event to attend in Sacramento. But it's also a good opportunity to recognize our city has kind of become a rugby town. Let's highlight that. Let's celebrate the fact that rugby is something in Sacramento. Let's be honest, the Sacramento Kings ain't doing anything for anyone. John Fisher swindled a bunch of people into thinking they could make profits on resale season tickets, and the X Games couldn't even be bothered to show up. Sometimes you just have to appreciate the things you do have in life, and what Sacramento does have is an amazing rugby scene. One that is welcoming and fun, one that has teams who are actually successful. Really, what more could you possibly ask for as it relates to sports? Thank you for watching this video. If you would like to learn more about some of the lost sports teams of Sacramento, those teams who have come and gone over the years, video upper left-hand corner of your screen. And for my thoughts on the progress Major League Rugby has made heading into 2025 and beyond, you can check out the video in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Until next time, I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is The Touchback. I'll see you September 6th at Hart Health Park to see the USA Eagles play. And as always, hashtag take it out the 25.